And hello, everybody. It's Tom Chenault with a cold, so I'm a little hoarse. And we are the Legacy Leadership Radio Show with my little boy, Adrian Chenault, to my left. And it's very good to see you. How are you, buddy?
I am great. How are you?
You are busy.
A little bit.
You're
It's
in the
good
middle of
times.
helping with the old mastermind with Eric Worre over there in Las Vegas at the same time that you're doing this.
This is exciting stuff.
If he disappears off the desk, it's because he's working, Jefferson. But we have got a guy today that he doesn't even know how much of a role model he's been to me for so long. First time I ever met him, I about tackled him, and I'll never forget it. And he has treated me with unbelievable class. Every minute, every time I see him, I learn something. You're going to learn a lot today. This book was written a long time ago in 2014. It sits in the category of classics of network marketing books. You should go buy it. It's a hardcover, which you never have those anymore. And it's actually autographed by him. So we will sell it to you if you can't find it for $500. So hello, Jefferson Santos. How are you, man?
I'm doing amazing. It's great to see you guys. And let's go, man. This is going to be fun.
You said something to me. You know, I never have a script, so we're not, and nothing's ever can, but you just said something to me that really, really impressed me. And that you had popped on to the Eric Worre mastermind, and they were taking a lunch break, so it was a perfect time so you didn't miss anything. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Now, how can a guy who has created an organization of 2.8 million people, billions of dollars worth of sales in those organizations, made money for years and years, why would you still be putting your money up to go back to yet another training when you know everything?
It's called sharpening the sword, sharpening the axe. You know,
Isn't that
you
cool?
gotta stay. You know, one thing about leadership is we're always growing, right?
Yeah.
And you'll hear something 6 months later, 3 months later, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds different, and you get it differently, and you have a different perspective, right? And so we're always growing, and we're catching things at different levels, right? And so it's like, what part of that event do I want to miss? Zero.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody who's pressing forward, leading the industry is there. And I don't want to miss it. I mean, I was just in Miami this past weekend with Brendan Bouchard and Ed Milet and Pastor Erwin McManus at a mastermind over there. And I'm on the front row, leaning forward, taking notes. Why? Because one of the things I value is learning, but not just learning, applying and making it happen. Right. It's hard to give out of an empty cup. Right. And I think as leaders, we have to fill our cups. The encourager needs encouraging too, right?
No question. And, you know, plus you meet people to raise your game all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
You think you know so much until you don't, until you realize you know very little. And it's a lot of new people in the business. Julia Thornhill. I don't know if you guys know that name.
Oh, yeah.
But, oh, God, I was around her at a mastermind for a few days, and I just walked out of there going, man, Tom, you're in third grade. You're 100 years old and in third grade. You don't know jack about what's going on in network marketing right now. And I know that you know Goggins, and I'm going to see Goggins again here. He's a buddy over in April in Denver. He's coming in. But I love that you stay so plugged in because it inspires all of us to part with a little bit of our money. You notice it's always the people that aren't making money that are complaining about having to spend money. And the whole trade-off is, well, you've got the money to spend. No, I can't afford not to do that. Right, Jefferson?
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. I think the other trap is that here's the other trap is, let's say you do finally get it. Then you spend the money and you go through the growth for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Then you make more money than you've ever had before. And then you rest on your laurels.
Oh, yeah.
Then you feel like you've heard so much. You almost get, and I'm raising my hand on this. There was a period, a very short window that I was a little bit in my head. Nobody knew it. I was cynical about, oh, I heard that. I heard this. And there's all that stuff. And I'm like, that is a dangerous place to be as cynical about anything. Because where do you go? Where do you go after this when you're plugging into all the top thinkers in the world? You can't go anywhere else. So what you have to do, and this is one thing that I real quick pivoted back, is I have to be even more curious.
Amen.
What's the new success is in the nuances, right?
Yeah.
They explain this thing. I've heard it a million times, but what's the outer edge? What's a little nuance that I'm missing? oh, okay. But if you're not curious, you don't catch it.
Yeah.
I think you got really lucky, and I want you to explain how, because I've always been jealous about this. And this was your little gang of Matt Morris, Mark Gazzetta, Stamen, all the cool guys. And you guys just took over the world. And I look at you guys, I go, they're not that big a deal. How in the world did that cool kids club come to be where you guys just jumped on airplanes and took over the world? How did that happen? I mean, was it all because of Wayne Nugent and a vision there? Or was it all just you guys holding hands and saying, we're going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it was all the above. It takes a village, right? And one of the things I say a lot is leadership is a relay race. You know, you can run a few laps, or you can sprint a lap, but you can't do all of them by yourself. You got to pass the baton.
Yeah.
And everybody was playing multiple positions. I mean, sometimes I felt like I was a flanker, running back, and a wide receiver. I'm giving a football analogy there, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But we had to do what it took. And then once it got going, we couldn't stop it, right? It's kind of one of those things where, you know, with travel, we wanted to do it right, because I've been exposed to even mid 90s, back in the 90s when these network marketing companies were trying to do travel their way, but we wanted to do it the right way. And I mean, I'm biased in that way, like the membership model, right?
Yeah.
You know, but then it was that's one thing, but then there's the accountability and internal policing of the culture. That's one thing that you have to have people that are so passionate about the culture and about doing things right. When it comes to like building the team and doing the events and going around the world and all that, like it all started small and then it ramped up. It wasn't one of those juggernaut stories where, you know, the first year we did $1 million and then it went to 10 million. It ratcheted up for at least 6 to 7 years. Then it hockey sticked up. Right. And it was, it gave us time for the leaders to grow, because we brought a lot of freshman classes in that never did network marketing. Right. And there was a long time we didn't recruit any network marketers. We were just literally growing from the farm team. It's like, get over here. You know, it's like we're dragging people by the back of their collars and getting them in and showing them how it's done. And it was by brute force in a good way, meaning physical meetings, physical trainings. Let me show you how it's done. Get in the car. We're going to do some windshield time. It's all that stuff. Right. And it's like, oh, shoot, this is how it's done. Because here's the deal. Like, unless somebody's around you and they can be around, it's kind of like TD Jakes said this best. He was talking about when your people can get close to you and around you for a period of time, they know your scent, they know your rhythm, they know your cadence, they know what you say, they can almost finish your sentences. That's when you're growing those people. You can set them out and start growing, you know?
That's the truth, man. And when you look at the comments of the people on this call, whether you've got
there's a comment.
You got Brian Carruth,
look at Brian.
You got Robert Hollish, you got Dan McCormick.
Oh man.
I mean, but what this means is these guys are all cheering for each other, different companies, but there's no competition at the top. There is a
collaboration,
competition at the top. That we need collaboration up there, because we need to make this professional with people like Jefferson and people like Robert and people like Dan and people like Adrian, and get rid of people like me. Yeah, that's 100% right. So yeah, very cool. We love you. Tell us how this all started. Where the heck did you come from to get to where you are now?
Well, it's interesting, you know, because I know we talked about a little bit about the title of this specific kind of the show here today.
Yeah.
And, you know, so just in short form, played football at the Naval Academy. We had a losing record there, but I learned a lot there. I transferred out of there. And the year I transferred out, they won a bowl game. So I missed that bowl ring, because every young athlete wants to win a trophy or a ring or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then I transferred to Texas Christian University, TCU, and I was lucky enough to play with LaDainian Tomlinson. But the beginning years I was there, we had a losing record. And the year that I left there, they won a bowl game.
My gosh,
So that's 2 rings that I missed. And what was interesting is in that spring before I went to TCU, my mother told me about network marketing, went to a doctor's house, big old house, drawing circles on a whiteboard. I'm thinking it's football. I had no preconceived notions. And so I got jacked up, excited, like I was on Mountain Dew or something. And I started telling people about it. And challenge is I didn't have any skill. So I only signed up like 3 people in my first 2 years in the industry. So I struggled. That wasn't for a lack of desire, but the thing is you can't just, add a mentor and add some water and you're instantly successful. You gotta run the miles, right? You have to do the things. And for me, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was my internal financial GPS, because my mother was raising my sister and I. She had 3 jobs. She didn't have a lot of money, and she said that out loud a lot. We don't have a lot of money. Money's hard to make. Those kind of things, right? So for me, and I mentioned this in my book, when I turned the corner, it's when I loved people and used money, not the other way around, right?
Wow.
And so it was my mentality of not having the money. And those cartoons back in the day where like the main character is like hungry and everybody looks like a steak.
Yeah, that's right.
That was me when I was first starting. And so I repelled people. I emanated whatever, scarcity and fear or whatever it was. And it took me a while, 9.5 years to have any success. But here's the important thing, everybody, is those little Super Saturday trainings and whatever events that I went to, I usually went by myself because I didn't have a team. And I ran up to the front row and expected a front row or a second row seat, not because of ego or something. It's just, I knew that people came in groups and they would put like the coats and purses and stuff like on an odd seat. So they'd be like an open seat somewhere like on the front or second row. And I would always get that. And for me, the meaning I put to it, listen to this. It was me and the speaker that was on stage, whoever it was a one-on-one coaching session.
Yeah.
Because I had to figure it out. It's like, I know that all the adults there, because I was 20 at the time, 20. Yeah, I started network marketing. I was 20. I know they were thinking in their head, oh, bless his heart. I hope he gets a good job one day.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because I would just show up all the time. It's like, who's this kid? And I would never have a team. Right. But the thing is here's what it got me. Here's my point. It kept me in for another 30 days. It kept me in for another 60 to 90 days until the penny would drop, until I hit pay dirt or whatever the thing was. It was those stories on stage, which brings me to the next thing is don't drop the microphone. Don't drop the mic. There's a lot of people they don't think their story is good enough. I'm tired of telling my freaking story. I'm sure all of us are tired of telling our story, but guess what? The next person needs to hear that story.
Yeah.
Because they're listening for some freaking nugget, right? And you could be the one, those of you that are listening right now or watching, you could be that one to tell your story at that right time when the moon and the stars and the sun lines up and they hear your story. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I'm going to hit reset. I'm going to put my check in the drawer or whatever. And I'm going to go at it again. And I was that person, y'all. I just kept on going and it happened.
Yeah.
And everything started growing, but I want to get, here's what I want to get. Yes, it grew. Like finally 2005, we started the travel brand and it grew. So 15 years after that, 15 years, multiple 6, 7, then 8 figures, all of that. But travel and the pandemic didn't really mix.
Right.
Right. And so we found ourselves in a precarious situation. You like that word, precarious? And so I struggled, and then I guess I quote unquote made it. Had a lot of other people make it, and then the company went bankrupt. The parent company did, right? And it wasn't just me; it's me and my family, then all of our leaders and people around the world, and all these things. And it's like, not only was all of us, the whole world, going through a transition. Our company and the people in our business and team were going through a transition. So there's a book called Transitions by William Bridges. And there's a chart on there. It talks about when something ends, a career, a death in the family, something happened, the way of life that we knew what it was, what it was ended, right? And then we went down into this valley of uncertainty and disorientation, right? And all this stuff. And so a lot of time, and we talked about this, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, a lot of people have been still disoriented, thinking maybe what they did is going to work again, or they've been trying to reorient themselves. And there's been a lot of people that just hunkered down and locked in, and they've reoriented, and they're on their upward trajectory. Right.
Yep.
And for me, it was a challenging time. We almost lost everything. And I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And so the question is when something happens to you, do you have PTSD, or do you have PTG, which is post-traumatic growth, right? That's a term in the what is it? The psychological world, right? And a lot of people that maybe they thought they got lucky, a lot of them didn't retry again. A lot of them, whatever thoughts they had. But for me, I had to look at myself in the mirror and go, and I think all of us do at some point in our lives or multiple times in our lives, and be like, all right, Jefferson, all this crap you've been teaching everybody else and writing about in the book, are you going to actually do it again?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we're asking. Let's just cut it to the chase. Here's the reason for this show today. And I always listen to where the show was going to go and then where it ends up. There are so many people out there. There's a book out there by a guy named Talib called The Black Swan. And a black swan always shows up and just disrupts everything. And it's an anomaly that shows up, except in the last 5 years, when all it is black swans. We are getting, we think we just made it through the election, and now we have the tariffs and we're all jumping off the whip. It's crazy. And it's scaring us to death. And we're paralyzed by fear, or we're paralyzed by growth. And we're telling everybody to put their spikes on and get back on the court. And we need to be telling it to ourselves. And right now, and I've been posting this like crazy the last week or two, I'm listening to The Slight Edge again. I just pulled out the Robert Chris books, Raising a Giant, Beating a Giant. I'm throwing away all the spiritual stuff, all the personal development stuff, all the stuff I normally read. And I'm going back to what I need to read, which is how to re-enroll myself to re-enroll other people where the rubber hits the road, right or wrong. And if I don't believe I can do it, how the hell can I expect myself to believe and train you to do it? Right, Jefferson?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, I believe that a lot of us that are watching this, we're at a skill level that's dangerous in a good way. But at the same time, if you're at the top of your game and you've got this experience and you've run these miles and we've done these things, the world needs us. Other people out there need us. And whatever mental gymnastics that we have to go in our head to click back in, to lock back in, the standard needs to be raised in this profession, right? We're the ones to do it. And there's a lot of great leaders, new leaders popping up the ranks that's exciting. It's exciting. It's like when you sign up that new person that gets you re-excited too, right? It's like we're seeing these leaders just push the envelope and seeing it done a little bit differently, but the base is still there. The basics is still there, right? And so I believe that we are in a Renaissance time right now, and the people that could just go back to the basics and catch and throw, right, and re-enroll themselves and are going to win, right? And Pastor Erwin McManus said this. He was talking about this relationship he has with pain. And he's like, when you start to feel pain, that's the beginning of greatness. When you start to feel that pain.
Correct.
And for some of us, painful is getting back on the road and doing the meetings, getting on this and getting that new person started when maybe you're used to talking to leaders. Hey, I'll be straight up honest. I enjoy talking to leaders because I can just let them have it and they won't freaking cry.
Yeah.
We run this business like a football team, but you can't tell everybody that. Right. And that's the thing. Like, man, I love being in those rooms where you can just let it rip because people need to hear that. They need to like get shaken up a little bit, right? Because you know what? We give a crap. We give a crap about them. We give a crap about the mission, right? We're showing up as our best selves every single day. We expect that of our people. But listen, we're running a volunteer army here, right? So we have to like influence them to do that. We have to continue to be the example, which sucks sometimes, because sometimes I don't feel like it, but that's what's required at this level.
Yeah.
Like everybody wants to, what is it? Everybody wants to be a beast, but they don't want to do what beasts do, the quotes and stuff. Yeah. You got to do what the beasts do. And it's not fun sometimes, but it's just a little thought that you have in your head that you could say, thanks, no thanks, and then just let it go and then continue to go forward.
I think that's a huge thing. And you talked about still being on the front line and taking yourself back to the front line, being on the front line, going to masterminds, doing the things that you're doing. What are some things that you're hearing either for the first time or you're kind of hearing with new ears in your life right now that are like, this is where I need to place my focus and be applying?
Well, I mean, one thing that this word really, really, really came about was conviction. Mm-hmm. Like if I were a stock, right? Like on the stock market,
sure.
And I'm talking about my business. I'm talking about something that I'm excited about. Do I have enough conviction? Would people in the group, in the circle would be like, he's got conviction, and that's the commitment that I have to the mission, right? It's like, because if everybody's just kind of walking around going through the motions and being just kind of laissez-faire, like in the military, I learned casualness leads to casualties.
Yeah.
We can't be casual right now. It's the leaders that are certain about where they're going and we're convicted. I'm not saying be like crazy, but like people are like, shoot, that person's on fire. We got to be on fire. And we can't be worried about what other people think about what that looks like. It's about being on fire and not being all cool because, listen, one of my good buddies who coaches major CEOs and Olympians was talking about one of the biggest traps some of these very, very wealthy people get into is they get too cool about certain things.
Constantly.
And it's not that's dangerous. It's okay to sprint, recover. It's okay to take a vacation, but not for 6 months. Now a sabbatical is something different, but I've never taken a sabbatical before. Nothing wrong with those. I vacation a lot, like taking my wife to Prague on Monday night for Valentine's with a group of people. It's going to be fun, right? We work hard, we play hard. So it's important to have that harmony. I don't want to say balance, because if you're balanced, you're not moving anywhere. You're not going forward or backwards, right? But that harmony of sprint, recover, knowing what season you're in and all of that. So once again, conviction.
Yeah.
Understand that this is my mission and this is my purpose, and whatever my feelings can go to hell. This is what I'm doing. Right. And people are like, okay, that's leadership. Because sometimes, because of the last few years in this politically correct, whatever echo chamber that we have, a lot of people are not hearing the words they really need to hear, with the teeth in it, to like really like, wham, that's what leadership is. We just need to go lead.
Sure.
How do people find you? Well, my Instagram handle is right there on the screen, Jefferson F. Santos. It's actually that's my middle name, but you could, it's easy to remember, maybe Jefferson freaking Santos or just Jefferson F. Santos, whatever. And then also for my other links, just go to connectwithjefferson.com. Cool. Connectwithjefferson.com. Find all the stuff there. Yep.
So I never ask questions I don't know the answer to, but I'm going to do it right now. Is your mom still alive?
Mm-hmm.
That picture from 2022, where you're standing with your mother and your mother's face is exuding more pride in a little boy. You looked 5 and she looked beautiful. And I just want you to tell her that struck me more than, because what I do is a ton of due diligence before one of these shows. And I'm just telling you, she has every reason to be proud of you. And you've got every reason to be thanking God. You said that she was there for you guys when you had nothing. And she told you to do network marketing, which is so funny because most of us go home to mom and dad. And the first thing they say is, that guy's a criminal and run. So I love your mother. And I just want you to tell her that for me. And thank God she's still alive.
Thank you. Yeah. She'll be turning 81 here in a few months. And she's been my biggest cheerleader other than my wife. And yeah, she's always been optimistic, you know. A matter of fact, listen to this. I didn't read the book, but now I know about the book. She had a little paperback book that had a little seagull on it. And that book was Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
I love that
It's
book.
an amazing book. And that was the first, she was reading that book. So she's always been this optimistic, positive person. And she always figured out a way to put a gift under the tree for Christmas, had a little present for us on our birthdays, even though she was trying to juggle everything as a single mom. I mean, she made it happen. That's one thing I learned from her was she was going to figure it out. And it's amazing.
How on earth did you get into the Naval Academy? How did that go down?
Well, I asked my dad in 8th grade, because I love airplanes. He was with, do you remember Braniff Airlines back in the day?
Yeah.
Braniff, Pan Am, TWA, Ozark. Yeah. So he worked for Braniff and then eventually Ozark and then TWA and all that. So I've been around planes since I was a baby. So I love travel and I want to be a pilot. So I asked my dad in 8th grade, what do I got to be, to be a pilot? He's like, got to go to the Air Force Academy. Then I learned about Air Force, Naval Academy, and then Army, which is West Point, right? And that was my first goal, like really, like get straight A's and then learn how to fly planes, get into one of the academies. And so then I realized, well, everybody at the Air Force Academy wants to fly, but at the Naval Academy, some people want to be Marines, submarines, boats, planes, whatever. So my chances of becoming a pilot were actually better at the Naval Academy. So I just found out how do I get in there? You have to get a congressional appointment. You have to, score good test scores, all of that. And I was blessed to get accepted into there, and it was an amazing experience. It's everybody there's on scholarship, and they get you there, shave your head, and you're in plebe summer. You're lower than pond scum when you get there. Everybody there is a salutatorian, valedictorian, or some letter athlete or something, all-star athlete. So like you're there, and you're amongst like amazing people, like smart, athletic, all of that. And then we're just shave our heads, throw all our civilian clothes away. We're all wearing the same stuff, and they break us down to nothing. And then they build us back up.
And then in these tough times that you've had in your life, you had to go back to those days where you're this last 12 months, really. We had a financial train wreck coming at us that almost killed us both. Then I got in that car wreck, about killed my wife and I. And then we had a terrible event on November 1st. And all three of those were life-altering trauma that made my wife and I better, that made our marriage better, that made our life better, that made my commitment to this business better, because I should be dead and I'm not. And I know it's because God has a bigger plan for me than I actually had for myself. And I owe it to the world to get back on the horse and play it bigger than ever before. That's kind of how you feel, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. And, God's great, man. God has blessed us. We found an opportunity 2 years ago and we just hunkered down. It's like, well, here goes the comeback story. And one of the things as adults is we don't like to be, I don't think anybody likes to be seen starting small again. And I had to start over. I had to start from scratch. And now what's really cool is I was able to build it back up to a 7-figure income within 2 years from scratch. And that was something that it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And you know how like when we go to various seminars and trainings and they always say, write down your biggest fear, write down your limiting belief or whatever, right? Every time I went to a seminar, I wrote down, can I do it again? Right. And so I was put to the test.
Yeah.
Could I do it again?
And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're staring, everybody's telling you you're going to do it again. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going, am I really? And that's when you got to really go to, that level of faith that you have to have, because there's no other option. And that happened to us. Go ahead, talk. I'm hogging this. I love you so much. I haven't let him have the mic, and I feel terrible about that.
I think that that's a huge thing when you have to go back and do it again. And when you're faced with this, okay, well, did I get lucky? Did I, can I go and, do I have what it takes? What does it look like? And the doubts that creep in and all the things that come along the way. And, what did you learn about yourself, Jefferson, in that moment of having to begin again and start small?
Well, I learned that it isn't that bad. We make up stuff on our head, and we catastrophize in our head. We really make things worse. Like, oh man, this is going to be bad. Or here's the thing. Like, the reason why we don't start something new is because we encounter 3 pains. Okay. And this happens in the delay. And so when you delay to start something, number 1, you have lost pain. Oh man, I'm going to lose Tuesday night volleyball or Tuesday night bowling night with my buddies if I do this new thing, or I'm going to have to lose the cheesecake because I want to get these 6-pack abs or whatever, right? There's a lost pain.
Yeah.
Then there's the second pain is process pain. So, okay, I want to get in shape. I want to get 6-pack abs. I want to get this new business. So now the process of it's going to hurt. I'm going to get sore muscles. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to have early mornings and late nights and all of that. Right. And then the third pain happens when you delay in action, and it's called outcome pain. What if I do all the things? What if I eat the broccoli and the chicken breast and I carry a gallon water jug with me everywhere and I don't get the 6-pack abs? What happens then? Well, that's all made up in your head because you don't know.
Yep.
We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know that's going to happen. Right. And so I learned that starting, and I knew it was going to be painful, but you got to push through it. And I know a lot of us have heard this before, but when you're up against it, to me, I'm like, okay, this is who I am. I'm the kind of person that, I want to be an example. I want to be a standard bearer in this industry. I want to be a standard bearer as an entrepreneur in this world. And I know how to do it. I'm going to go do it again. I'm going to be part of the comeback. I'm going to do the comeback. Right. And part of my brain was, shit, man, I got to do this comeback thing.
Yeah.
And then the other part of me is like, yeah, let's get after it. And it's like, the thing is it's like you have to have two different, it's like you have to have your eye on the horizon way out there, but you also have to have the fast little, it's like in the micro, you got to be fast, but in the macro, you got to be patient.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And you have to learn how to be like, okay, horizon. Okay, be urgent over here. The horizon's over there. I'm going to head to the horizon, urgent over here. So it's that dichotomy that it's not one or the other. It's both. It's not or, it's and. And you can't limit yourself. You just have to use everything that I've learned, lean on God, thank God that I have an amazing wife and great kids. And we had the conversations of, Dad's going to be on some late night stuff and early morning things, and I might have to miss a few things. And guess what? I really didn't have to miss much, if anything. And that's the beauty of being able to do it again and not knowing when it's just going to skyrocket. And it did. The first year was tough starting over. The second year really picked up some steam because I found some great people who found some great people that found some great people. So you don't have to do it all yourself. But you do have to be the catalyst. You do have to be the spark. You do have to knock yourself over as a domino to knock over the other dominoes.
That's a great call. Your company's got to be important. The comp plan's got to be great. The product's got to be great. The back office has got to be great. The ownership has to be great. But that mentor that you join, that you say, listen, man, I'm going to put my spikes back on and I'm going to get back on the field. And I think obviously by the comments in here, it had something to do with Robert Hollis because he's very proud of you right now. But how important is that? Over at the other company, you had those 5 guys that were maybe cross-line mentors, but you guys were working together. And this business is all community and everybody lifting each other up. And that's kind of what you did there, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I came over to the company that I'm currently with right now, Yeah, Robert was over there. There's some people that I respect that's over there. And I had to really show up for them too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, Jefferson's here. Oh crap. And that it's like, hey, they're expecting something too. Like, what's Jefferson going to do? Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? The best, they like that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Put the stress, like it's called eustress, right? It's put the good stress on you, goals, things that you want to shoot for. That's healthy stress. Nobody was telling me what to do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Nobody was telling me what to do at all. Like I wanted to do it. I wanted to jump in headlong. How can I help? Where can I help? And that's what happened. And so what's great is we have a very unifying culture. Everybody collaborates. And that's a test to the leadership, right? Starting from the top down. And that was another huge blessing. But that was one of the reasons why I came over, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons I made a decision to join my specific company and go with it because of all those little things check the box.
So
but there was opportunity for me too.
I posted, and if you scroll down on my Facebook wall, a 7-minute interview with Jamie Dimon. And I don't know if you guys know who he is, but just a huge financial guy. And he was talking about in the Bear Stearns crisis, he got a call from the head of Bear Stearns who said, if I don't have $30 billion tomorrow, we're out of business.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole thing.
You have to watch it because it's the owner of your company. It's the owner of every network marketing company out there right now. They are getting hit at all from every direction. And they don't know what the hell they're doing any more than we do. And they are dodging bullets. And one thing that Jamie Dimon said was the same thing with the stress. If you've got the right team, everybody absorbs the stress together. But he said something else. How do I relax? I go to work because I can actually go in there and do something about it. And I'm around other people and we're together and we're all suffering together, but we're also relieving our stress together, which I don't think a lot of people understand about that high level conversations that you guys live in. And I'm just so proud of you and so in awe of you. And I just want you to know that because I saw you through thick and thin. I saw your comeback. I've watched your comeback. We wanted you on the show and you've done a hell of a job. And there was no cornball stuff. It was humility, hard work. You can do it. To everybody listening, and that's cool, right? Go ahead and say something again.
Thank you. Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I think just that that journey of leadership doesn't ever end and fixing stuff doesn't ever end. And I loved that analogy of the, urgency up here without losing sight of the horizon, because that's so much of it. And the higher level at which you play the game, the number of things that have to urgently get fixed all the time, like the intensity of that only increases, and you got to hold on to that vision that keeps you, pointed in one direction. So you're not just getting whipsawed every which way. And so thank you just for sharing that analogy and for embodying that. Cause I think that's something that we all need to do more of. So,
and I think the message that you all got out of this show, and I hope you heard it loud and clear, is that there is so little competition at the top. It is everybody down here messing around for the $5 bills. And if you just continue learning the skills and don't listen to those people that say you're wasting your money on seminars or training and continue to improve yourself, you are automatically going to improve other people, develop leadership, and you're going to be a Jefferson Santos, right, buddy?
Well, yes, but the better version of you, like the one that's listening, right? It's really... every time I think that I don't need to listen or watch something and then I do, I'm like, man, I can't imagine my life not hearing what I just heard, right? Yeah. And it's always that little nugget. It's those little things, those little nuances. Again, I come back to that. At this point in the game, it really is about how can we do the things that we know how to do? How can we do them more consistent, even more consistently, even more in excellence, right? And because then when you go to bed at night, you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Like we've all had those days where we're like, I kind of half-assed it today. A little half-assy, You know what I'm saying? And you're like, you know, it was an okay day, but you know you could have done better. It's like, we know that. And so let's push the envelope. Let's have a better day tomorrow or today than we did yesterday, right? Once again, I know we've heard this stuff before, but we got to be reminded. I mean, sometimes, you know, I feel like a CRO, the chief reminder officer.
I'm going to send you a book along with Michelle will get your address and stuff, along with a contact mapping, fire your brain, hire your heart, or love like crazy, then love more. One of those t-shirts. But this book is by a guy named Dan Waldschmidt. And he is a super achiever like you are, who says all of the super achievers, except Goggins, know they've got so much more in the tank, but they're only performing to the level of the impressed people around them. So it's good enough, but we know we've got so much more. And the name of the game in this business is to live in that so much more, right?
100%.
Adrian's trying to get me out of this show because we're on a clock, because we're now on AM radio. So I'm going to get fired if I don't end this thing, but I love you so much. Thank you.
Love you too, brother. Thank you.
Jefferson.
Jefferson, great show, man.
Who's next week?
Marcus Setta.
Marcus
Mr.
Oh my God.
I love that guy.
He is the best. All right, you guys. See you later.
Thanks.
All right.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Later, guys.